Salut tout le monde. Hi everyone. Welcome to Adventures with Raven and Rowley. I'm Raven and this is Rowley. Today I'm going to talk about going back to school. I'm the oldest kid in the class, okay? If you're curious, join us on this journey and continue to watch. I'm attending l'Université ouvrière de Genève. It's the Open University of Geneva, a continuing education for adults at La Ferme du Pommier, the apple farm. Okay. These classes are held all over the city. I've attended 2 classes so far, as you can tell from my French pronunciation, okay? This immersive French class costs 150 Swiss francs, that's $164.10 as of yesterday, for the entire semester, from September to June, as juin. Oh, slow but sure I'll get it, right? That includes books and handouts. I haven't been in school for a lot of years, at least 40. So it's been a while, you know. When I think of school, college in particular, I think of the classroom full of kids. The teacher and the kids are usually younger than me. I was somewhere around 35, so I was definitely older than all of the 18-year-olds in my classroom, you know. I had kids as old as these. Mostly when I think of school, I think of homework, you know. And finally, there is about school the joy of getting it, whatever it is that the teacher was trying to teach me. I finally got it, you know what I mean? The school isn't that kind of school that has a huge lecture hall or anything like that. It's a continuing education. And I figure we're all adults here, although the other students and the teachers are still kids to me. I'm older than all of them, including the teacher, everybody, okay? In fact, my youngest kid is older than the teacher, okay? We have a classroom, really. It's not a lecture hall. It's really a room with chairs, more like a conference room, you know. No windows, though, to distract us. There are skylights to let the sun in, which is really nice. The room stays kind of comfy, you know. And it's very live. The sound bounces off the walls. There's nothing on the walls, you know. In this class, I'm the only native English speaker in the group. That means that the group are all working on at least their third language. There is whatever they spoke at home, you know, Hindi, Pakistani, Japanese, maybe Persian, Turkish, Hebrew, etc., you know. Everyone speaks English in the class if an assignment can't be understood in French. But meanwhile, you can hear their accent of wherever it is that they spoke at home. I don't think any of them are polyglots, you know, people who just like learning new languages and they speak 10 or 12 languages, you know. I think they're just learning French for more or less the same reason I am, because they're living in Switzerland and they're shopping and such, you know. Most shops, though, they have someone in the shop who speaks English. You don't necessarily find that at supermarkets, though. But then, you know, There's not much to say in a supermarket line. But even so, I mean, I'd like to understand what I'm hearing, you know. My daughter says that business is mostly conducted in English, so she doesn't often get to speak French at her job, you know. But as I said, I'm learning for the same reason, because I'm living here. I want to be able to read the maps, the signs, the posters. I want to go where I want and be able to ask how to get there and how to read about the place before I go without having to hit Google Translate, you know. I want to be able to talk with people everywhere. I've had a woman stop me and wanted to say how wonderful Rowley is, but we didn't understand each other. And I want to be able to count my money. I mean, I know how to count, obviously. But last week I went to a store and I paid the bill with at the cashier with a $10 Swiss franc. But I was due $2.20 change, you know. I actually stood in front of the cashier and counted out the money because she handed me 2 coins. And I'm thinking in America it would have been $2 bills and 22 dimes, you know. So I stood there and I looked at this money to make sure I was getting what I was supposed to get, you know. The smallest bill in Switzerland, paper money, is a 10 Swiss franc. Everything else smaller than 10 Swiss francs is a coin of some kind. The only, well, the biggest difference is that they're different sizes. It's just like American coinage, you know. And I really just stood there and looked at them to try and become familiar with them. I mean, I could sit home and I could put them all out in front of me, you know, and go through them and say, oh, yes, this one is this one's that one. But I think that things stick with me better when I use them in context, you know. So there I was at the store and I said, hey, this is an opportunity. Nobody's standing behind me, you know. Let me look at this money and make sure I got what I'm supposed to get without dumping it in my wallet and then saying, oh, you know, did I get the correct change? I need to get to the point of being able to feel it and know what it is, you know. Also, Swiss francs, the bills, the dollar bills, are all different sizes. The smaller the denomination, the smaller the bill. Each one is about, I'd say, 1/8 of an inch longer than the previous size. So a 10 would be small, a 20 would be just a little bit larger, a 50 a little bit larger than that, and then 100. And you know, they to the point. It's so that when you kind of square them up like you do with cards, you know, you could see the different sizes just by looking at them. And of course, the colors are different. Beautiful money. Of course, American money is beautiful too. Have you ever looked at that stuff under a microscope? It's really amazing. I don't know how anybody could do that kind of work. I don't have that kind of talent, you know. Anyway, in my first class, my first embarrassment happened. You know how it is. You don't want to make a mistake when you're called on, you know. Of course, it's inevitable and probably a good thing to make a mistake in the classroom with the teacher there to correct you immediately. But of course, my mistake was really obvious. You know, what I did was I waited for a student. The students were asking each other questions. She would call on one student and ask the question, and the other one would answer, and then another student, and you know, back and forth, so that not everybody was paired up with the same person all the time, you know. So anyway, I thought it was my turn, and I was waiting for him to, the other student to ask me, this guy to ask me a question. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting and I'm looking at him, you know, I got my hands crossed and it was getting really quiet in that room, you know. And I realized that the entire class, of course, there was only 8 of us, so it wasn't that bad, you know. The whole class was looking at me, and I'm saying, what? what's going on here, you know? And I'm still waiting for this guy. And then finally somebody says, you know, ask him a question. And he was supposed to answer, you know, so unlike in my younger, I asked the question, you know, unlike my younger years, I didn't want to crawl into a hole, but I think that if I could have blushed, I would have blushed, you know, because it was obvious. But I did have to remind myself, pay attention. You're supposed to make mistakes. It's good to be corrected. And other quick thoughts like that, so that I could clear my head and pay attention. You know, I didn't have that garbage running around in the back of my head, okay? But yesterday when I had the class, my second class, she pointed to the number 26 on the board. And so we were supposed to figure out how to say 26, right? And I kept saying 27 instead of 26. And the teacher kept prompting me on the board, you know? And I kept saying 7 until I realized what I was doing, okay? The thing is when I was practicing the numbers from 1 to 10 at home, because I knew we were going to talk about numbers this week, I kept skipping 6. I'd go from 5 to 7, you know, and then, so I did it again, you know. So maybe with her help and pointing down and this crazy embarrassment, I'll remember the number 6, you know. And that's the way it goes, you know. And I did get the courage to ask everyone to speak up because my 80-year-old ears couldn't hear what they were saying. I mean, the room was very live anyway, but I still, because they were all whispering. Nobody wants to speak up, you know. They're afraid they're going to pronounce something wrong or they're going to say something wrong, you know. Of course, that's what we're there for, but, you know, people will whisper if they can or mumble if they can, you know. So in my case, I couldn't hear what anybody was saying. I needed them to speak up, including the teacher. I needed them all to speak up. So that turned out to be a good thing. Or at least I think it was a good thing, because it makes everyone not whisper because they're afraid, you know. So maybe I helped with my mistake and my request. The class was fun though. It ended before I realized that 2 hours had passed. So that goes to show you, I must have been having fun. I gotta say though, the homework is understandable and easy to do. You just have to do it. Just have to take the time to do it. You know, it's not a biggie. I think most people don't do homework because they figure it's going to take a lot of time or whatever, and they don't want to, you know, it's going to be tedious or whatever. But I find that if I repeat things throughout the day, you know, because at this point, she wants us to speak out loud and she wants us to say things like the alphabet and the numbers and the days of the weeks and the days of the month, and the months, you know, and things like that. And I need to just say them out loud and repeat them over and over and over and over again until they finally sink in, you know. So it's not a matter of sit down at a desk and, you know, memorize these letters, these words, these numbers, or whatever, you know. It's a matter of repeating them when you think about it during the day. And I think that for me, that works best, you know. But she didn't give us a heads up about what next class will be about. So, but even so, I'm still looking forward to the next class. Definitely fun. It was definitely not scary, even though I was scared to walk in there the first day and the second. It wasn't scary, okay, and it was fun. I should have taken this class a long time ago. The Rowley report. Oh, wait a minute, Rowley. We gotta come get you again. Come here, boy. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. He's on the ottoman again. Okay. You want to turn around and face the camera? Come on, come on, come on. There you go. Yeah. Okay. The Rowley report. Rowley loves my daughter. Okay. He's gotten to the point where he obeys her more than me. And she's not a kid, per se. I mean, she's younger than me, you know. But she's not a kid. She's not going to get down on the floor and play with him, you know. I had to explain to Rowley when we first got here that she was my baby because he was barking at her all the time, you know. He still barks at her sometimes. He doesn't like her to come down here into my room. I think it's his protective space, or he's protecting his space, or what he thinks is his space. So he barks at her a lot then. And he barks at her when she comes home, as if to say, where the heck have you been? How come you didn't come home sooner? And sometimes he gets really annoying begging, you know. I told her she created a monster, but hey, you know. So if he's begging too much or arguing with her, which he will do sometime, she tells him to go to mommy and sit. And he does. He comes over and sits. If I tell him to come over there and sit, you know, he'll do it eventually. If he's outside and barking, she calls him in and he comes running. You know, he waits for her at the door, sits next to me facing the door when she's due to come home from work at around 5:30. And he stares at the door. You know, if she's later than 7 p.m., which she is sometimes, you know, he will go over and bark at the door as if it's the door's fault that she's not home yet. You know, open up, let her in, you know. He really acts like one of my kids when they were small. Yeah, I love him for it. He's such a good dog, really. You are really a good dog, Rowley. So anyway, I'll see you next Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Your thoughts and comments and opinions would be appreciated. Let me know how you survived your class, okay? Whatever class it was. And please subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for watching. Take care of you and yours. And blessed be.